Hope, as we head into what scientists say could be a rough winter, hope might be on the way. Pfizer says its vaccine trial has been 90% effective, with more than 43,000 people being tested around the world. Well, one of those vaccine volunteers is with us now. His name is Glenn D. Shields, and he's from Austin, Texas. I understand you're a lobbyist down there. Nice to talk to you, Glenn. How you feeling?
Great.
Good. So you know you got the vaccine. How do you know it worked?
Well, I don't know if it works, but I do know I'm fairly certain I got it. I had some side effects, a lot of injection site pain, and then I just couldn't stand it. And I went and my doctor ran a full antibody test about 2 weeks after I had the second injection, and I showed antibodies.
Mm-hmm. So it did work.
Well, I mean, I haven't caught the coronavirus, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and you have the antibodies. I know some people got the placebo, and that's what I meant by saying, did you get the vaccine or did you get the placebo? I was reading some articles yesterday about some of the people that were a part of your study and some of the side effects. What did you go through? It was 2 shots, right? And what did you feel after each shot?
After the first shot, it was a little bit more severe than I thought. It was basically I had a headache and I had a lot of fatigue, injection site pain. It lasted about 24 hours. The pain in my arm lasted about, I'd say, 72, maybe 3 to 4 days. The second one, it was similar, but it was much more muted. It wasn't as strong. I think I took some Advil the second time, and basically they cleared up.
I'm sure you feel a lot safer, and you're probably free from a lot of the worries that a lot of Americans are going through right now when they go out in public or have to go to the grocery store, that kind of thing. Do you recommend people take it?
Yes, get it as soon as you can. I know there's going to be some kind of phased rollout or something like that, but I would recommend get it as soon as possible. It's a vaccine. We've been getting vaccines most of our lives. I had talked to my doctor. He said, don't worry about it. There's differences in how this one works, but in the end, it's still just a vaccine, and people shouldn't be scared of it.
Why did you decide to do it?
I had actually just read a news article that they were going to be, Austin, Texas was going to be one of the places where they were trying to gather volunteers. And I saw it. I called the company up that was administering the trial, and I went from there. It wasn't complicated. The people that do all the work that administer this phase, and I had to basically just sit there and just take orders. It wasn't hard.
Well, we all want our lives back, and we can't thank you enough for volunteering to do this so that we can all go get that vaccine eventually. I know you said hearing of its success was like hearing the ringing of war bells. Thank you so much, Glenn, for being with us this morning, giving us all hope.
With asthma, food allergies, and a heart condition, 44-year-old Thomas Silvera says he does everything he can to protect his health, including getting vaccines. He says if a vaccine for COVID-19 becomes available, he'll get that too.
I will kind of be leaning towards that, of getting the vaccination.
But he says he knows many in his community may be hesitant, especially to participate in clinical trials before a vaccine is approved.
The trust issue is the biggest factor there.
That's a key challenge as Phase 3 efficacy trials get underway of the vaccines in the U.S. COVID-19 disproportionately affects communities of color.
As we start recruiting for Phase 3, we really need to be incredibly mindful of reaching out to those communities who are hardest hit to ensure that we are getting individuals who are at heightened risk.
The COVID-19 Prevention Network, formed by the National Institutes of Health, is prioritizing communities hardest hit by the disease, essential workers, the elderly, people with other health conditions, and Native American, Latinx, and Black and African American communities. Experts say it requires building trust.
This is part of a broader issue of medical mistrust, which is entirely justified. As if you go, way back, J. Marion Sims and his, obstetric trauma and terrible abuse of slave patients, to Henrietta Lacks, to the Tuskegee trials, but there are others. What happens is this is in the lore.
And the early COVID-19 vaccine trials did not include many people of color. 40 of 45 participants in the NIH Moderna Phase 1 trial were white, while Oxford University, which is partnered with AstraZeneca, noted a limitation of its initial study is that a majority of its participants were white as well. The companies and researchers say diversity in the much larger efficacy trials is a key priority.
If we're going to make a vaccine that works for all of us, we need to be able to make sure that all of those key populations are included.
Doctors leading the trials have this in mind as well.
We are going to be reaching out to African American churches and try and enroll in church populations. We're also going to be targeting warehouses and factories, meat packing plants, and places where there have been large outbreaks and where we're more likely to encounter people who are at greater risk.
Inclusion, experts say, starts with health providers.
The number one reason Black people and brown people don't participate in clinical trials is because nobody asks them, and that is a provider issue. If nobody's actively including them, they will miss out on something that could be life-saving.
Meg Terrell, CNBC Business News.
Latest on the coronavirus, where the total number of confirmed cases worldwide is now exceeding 60,000. Our Eunice Yoon is live in Beijing for us with the latest. Eunice.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Well, the spike in cases is due to a change in methodology in Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak. They have changed the way that they confirm cases. They now have two groups. One is called confirmed, and that is confirmed people are confirmed if they have a test and a lab test. But the other group is called the clinically diagnosed group, and those people are confirmed with a CT scan, likely because there aren't enough tests or the testing ability is lacking. Now, the new method looks as though it's aiming to help patients get into quarantine or get treated faster, but there are plenty of people who are doubting these numbers and saying that this could be a way that the Chinese government is trying to obscure what the numbers actually are, because the latest methodology also means that people who are asymptomatic or who don't show any symptoms are now not counted as confirmed. Now, outside of China, Japan is now the third place to suffer a fatality, a woman in her 80s who lived near Tokyo. And then back here in China, the Chinese government wants to show that it has a handle on the situation. Today, they announced new replacements for 2 sacked local officials in the outbreak zone. Also on state TV, it's been very heavily featured that the military is sending in 2,600 more medical personnel into Hubei province. Guys?
So, Eunice, just trying to understand the higher cases that you just reported, is it clear whether these were previous cases and just not recorded, or whether it's a new spike in cases?
It's not, the time frame isn't clear, but these are people who haven't previously been diagnosed, and a lot of it is because, as I said before, there's a suspicion that there isn't enough testing ability on the ground. So it got to the point where the authorities wanted to be able to say we have more cases, and started to use different methods in order to try to show that these are confirmed cases.
Eunice Yoon, thank you very much.
What was it like when you saw the results, 90% efficacy for your vaccine for COVID?
It was exactly what you can imagine. It is a great day for science. It is a great day for humanity when you realize that your vaccine has a 90% effectiveness. That's overwhelming. You understand that the hopes of billions of people and millions and businesses and hundreds of governments that were felt on our shoulders, now we can credibly tell them, I think we can see light at the end of the tunnel.
You said no serious safety concerns that you observed in the trial so far. Tell us what you've seen there. What's it going to be like for people if and when this vaccine gets on the market to take these shots? I mean, after the second one, you do feel some side effects sometimes, right?
Yes, we have published, as you remember, in our R&D day at Pfizer, unblinded safety data from the first, I think, 6,000 patients. Now we have 36, almost 40,000 patients with second dose already been given. And it's exactly the same situation. It hasn't changed at all. So the tolerability profile it is among the best.
So this is, of course, just the top line data. You took a look in on an interim basis. You had 94 infections in the trial. So we don't have the spelled out data. But what can you tell us about, did you prevent severe infection in the trial? Just tell us what you can, essentially, at this point about what you know.
No, I'm telling you what I can because I don't have this information. As you know, all this information is blinded and there is a committee of independent experts that are reviewing the data. According to the protocol, the only information that they had to give us was if the product is effective and the effectiveness of this product in the first primary endpoint, that was people without prior infections. And also they had a look on the safety database and they told us that they have no safety concerns. We are not aware of the secondary endpoints, and one of them it is the severe COVID, and we are just waiting for the study to be completed. But given how quickly the events are accruing, because unfortunately these great news are coming at a time that the world needs them the most, where we have 100,000 cases every day, we will have completed the study, I think, before the end of the month.
As of this morning, Texas is now the first state in the United States to surpass 1 million coronavirus cases. El Paso, the city of El Paso alone, has more people hospitalized than most states. And we learned this morning the city is bringing in new mobile morgues. They're doubling the number of these mobile morgues to handle the spike in deaths. CNN's Omar Jimenez is live in El Paso. And Omar, you have seen firsthand the human toll this is taking.
That's right, John. It's every awful aspect of this pandemic converging on this city. Out of the entire hospital capacity we have here for anything, around 50% of the patients that are in the hospital are for COVID-19. Members of the U.S. Army and Air Force are here assisting. That's along with the nearly 1,400 personnel the state has sent in as well, just to try and slow down in any way what has been an explosion of coronavirus.
Entonces, pensamos, reflexionamos.
Churches are empty. Businesses no different. And the new reality for El Paso, Texas, where coronavirus has taken hold unlike any other place in the country. Based on the number of active cases and the population, 1 in every 30 people in the county actively has COVID-19. The test positivity rate has been at 20% or higher since before Halloween. Nearly 1,100 people are in the hospital with coronavirus, record levels, and the virus continues to claim lives.
He went to work. That was the last time we saw him. That's the last time his children saw him.
Daniel Morales, a nurse, fought for weeks.
We'd gather in front of the hospital in the parking lot every evening at 9 p.m. And we'd pray because we believed he'd come home.
I always have a positive nature where he's going to be fine. He's just fighting this thing off. He's fighting it. He'll be fine. And he never recovered.
Daniel Morales was 39 years old, leaving a wife and 4 kids behind. It's a pain that's become all too familiar.
This is one of 6 mobile morgues currently in operation here in El Paso, and they say there are more on the way, just to try and keep up with the number of deaths that we have seen here. All in all, officials here say they can hold up to 176 bodies if necessary. You couple that possibility with what's been a record level of hospitalizations here, and officials say they are on the brink of disaster.
We're in a dire situation.
David Stout is a county commissioner in El Paso and knows the medical examiner may need even more resources.
He's also asked that we start looking for an actual brick and mortar situation that has refrigerations.
And that's purely because you have so many bodies stacking up.
Exactly.
In recent weeks, the county judge instituted a shutdown of non-essential businesses. Some are pushing back.
Our team members don't have paychecks. If we don't have hours to give them because we can't serve customers, they don't get paid.
The state supports the businesses, calling the judge's move illegal, pushing for other mitigation strategies. Stout supports the county judge's order and an extension of the shutdown, especially as numbers across Texas continue to rise.
when things start getting worse everywhere else, I mean, people are going to have to go back to those other places, right? And then what's going to happen in El Paso?
But the debate over how to proceed, shut down or not,
these are his ashes,
is a back and forth Morales no longer has patience for.
We have an empty chair now. We have a void that will never be filled. And you know what? If I lose my house, if I lose my car, I'll replace it, I'll rebuild. But you cannot bring my son back. You can't. And they're arguing over this, and it makes me angry.
And we're still waiting to see whether a county judge's shutdown of non-essential businesses will be extended or if the state's appeal will win out. And as for Daniel's mother, she went on to say that if you ask his kids what their biggest fear is, it's their mother, who's also a nurse, going to work, because they lost their father when he went to work. That was the last time they ever saw him.